Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is Joe Scarice, your co-founder and co-host to the Creative Bird Strategy House. Happy to say we're on our 94th episode live here every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get rocking and rolling here in just a few minutes. I'm going to invite some peeps in on the Clubhouse world. So let me get myself started today. I want to thank everybody, and I always love to start off with our sponsors. Of course, would like to thank Mr. Yordell Perkins of Perkatech, who provides our social media architecture, our website design, our administration, our analytics to the podcast, and so many real estate professionals as well, which is he's just been a great asset to this whole entire movement of the Creative Bird Strategies podcast. So I want to thank him. I want to thank MB Capital of Solutions, which is your referral program for real estate and unsecured business lines of credit. I want to thank Miss Linda Pelagas of Realty 411, who provides a national publication for real estate investors and professionals throughout the country. I would like to thank also Lenmark Capital, where I am a senior loan analyst providing asset-based lending, debt service, fixed to rent, fixed to flip, new construction, multifamily, and single family through four family. I'd like to thank TCS Property Management Services, where I'm a licensed realtor in the property management space and real estate strategy space for real estate investors in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So we'll get started here in just a few minutes. Just going to get all my peeps here and invite some peeps in here. Some people I haven't seen in quite a bit as well, so that'll be really interesting. I saw one guy for a brief moment there, and he popped in and out. Hold on one second here. Get ourselves muted. All right. All right. So, what is our discussion today? We're going to be discussing what are the most important strategies as a real estate investor to evaluate a single family through four family checklist. I'm also going to go into some underrated markets that we're going to discuss as well, that for rentals for real estate investors throughout the country. I did some analysis as well. I also want to just catch up with what's gone on this week. A lot of good stuff. Uh, so, one, we're expanding the Elite Dealmakers um, events throughout New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So, we're going to be in Philadelphia. We're going to be Elite Dealmakers Lehigh Valley, Elite Dealmakers North Jersey, and Elite Dealmakers South Jersey. We're also going to intensify the underwriting courses that we're providing for individuals that want to learn how to broker or just better underwriting their own deals to price their own loans out. So we just had another successful underwriting class yesterday in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey at Court Furniture Rental Office Suites. What a great spot. Really nice people. Had about 20 people, really dug into underwriting, really dug into the questions and answers. I think people walked away with just a whole new feeling of underwriting properties. We're going to be doing that once a week, once a month, not once a week, once a month. So we just had it in North Jersey. Next month, we're going to have it in New York City at 110 Fifth Avenue on April 19th. And April 26th, we're going to have it back down in South Jersey in Haddonfield, New Jersey. So if you want to fly in on a Friday or drive up on a Friday and stay over into a Saturday, the class goes from around, I'd say 9:30 to about 12:30. But it's extremely intense. I don't take breaks. I go right through it to make sure that you're walking away with value, but two, you're walking away with insight and understanding how to underwrite a deal for real. I mean, you could go take a workshop and spend thousands of dollars and walk out and think you're an underwriter. But when you're working with somebody that's actually pricing the loan out, the underwriting is completely different. So we definitely will have that in a consistent manner. I'd love to expand that as well. So if anybody would like me to hold that on a Saturday in another state, whether I'm providing the CE or not, I think it's a valuable asset to anyone that wants to sit down and underwrite a deal and be ahead of the game. And really, the underwriting we underwrite 1 through 4 and 5 through 8 because there's only so much time that you have in 2 to 2.5 hours to really jump into underwriting files. So I try to make sure it makes sense, and I stick to DSCR single family through four family, and 5 through 9. And then I go into fixed to rent and fixed to flip. Same thing, just to make sure it's a realistic class for most of the people that are in attendance. Obviously, I could have a one-on-one with you if something is larger than that, and dive into that as well. So this week coming up, I want to just give a heads up where I'm going to be this week. So at least if anybody's around, you want to catch up for coffee, I'll be up in the Lehigh Valley on Monday. Tuesday, I'm going to a completely different event up in Edison, New Jersey. It's a social media class or a workshop and networking class at Topgolf in the evening with a bunch of social media guys, which I think will be pretty cool. On the 19th, I'm speaking in Connecticut for the Pro Group, which is a landlord group. Then on the 20th, I'm in King of Prussia at the Apartment Association throughout the day from 10:30 to 1 p.m. So I'll be there probably by 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. meeting with investor mindseted professionals in the multifamily and apartment section. And then Friday, I am in the afternoon. I'm in South Jersey for a grand opening for a real estate group. And then also in the evening in Philadelphia. And then on the 22nd, for anybody that's listening in, we're doing a rehab caravan tour in South Jersey. We're covering Gloucester, Salem, Cumberland County. We might touch on Atlantic County. We start promptly at 9 a.m. We leave at 9 a.m. I'm going to have breakfast and everything set up by 8:30 at the MB Capital Solution offices in Turnersville. So you need to sign up for that if you want to be there. And we're going to leave. We're going to have a map. Everybody's going to have their own vehicles. A couple people hop in my car. Everybody, I think, will pro share. And we have two great real estate agents providing walkthroughs on DSCR opportunities, fixed to rent opportunities, and fixed to flip opportunities. And I'm really excited about that as well. That'll go from 9 to 3. I also provide lunch. We talk about what we saw in the morning, and we keep underwriting deals. I'll have a lot of them already underwritten to be sent out based on either whether it was a DSCR or whether a fixed to rent, fixed to flip already. So like all these properties that we're going to look at, I'm going to already pre-underwrite for you and send the sizers. So that's something cool that we've never done before. So by Wednesday, the realtors are going to get me all the information, and we're going to pump that out there. So let's dive into our subject today. Evaluating single family or four family homes as a real estate investor, there's a necessary thorough analysis to gauge the potential return on investment, risks, and long-term viability. And considering the following key factors when assessing both single family residents through a multifamily 2 through 4, we're going to stick with today. By diligently evaluating factors, real estate investors can make informed decisions to maximize their investment opportunities. Number one is location analysis, neighborhood quality, the economic stability, the comparable property values, then the property condition, and a thorough inspection. I think that's very important. I think you need to really dive into that, understanding foundation and structure, understanding roof and exterior, understanding plumbing and electrical systems, understanding HVAC systems, insulation and energy efficiency, and pest issues. Number 3 is the cash flow analysis, the rental income and potential, the operating expenses, the vacancy rate, the debt service coverage ratio. All this is provided to you by me, and we're the only clubhouse group that provides worksheets, underwriting forms, and courses that are CE certified for you to better underwrite your deals. So just keep all this in mind as I'm discussing this, and also keep in mind, this is on a blog on LinkedIn where you could give a vote to the poll of which one is most important factor to you. I only put up 4 factors out of the ones that we're going to discuss this morning, but connect with me on LinkedIn and look at that poll I just posted up this morning. I would really, really appreciate it. Then number 4, you need to understand financing and loan considerations. What are your loan options? What is the cash on cash return to that specific property? And then understanding the rentability and the tenant factors, tenant history on occupancy, the market demand, property management. Is it present? Is it bad? Is it good? Legal and zoning considerations, zoning laws, tenant rights and local laws, and permits and code compliance. Then there's appreciation and long-term value. What are the market trends showing us? What is the future? development plans, and what is your exit strategy? Is there an exit strategy? Anybody that thinks they're flipping a property must underwrite it as if they don't sell it, they have to hold it. I have 8 properties that were up for sale that were taken off the market, and I'm refinancing them as we speak in 2 different markets. It's real, it's happening, and being reality. The risk management and contingencies. What's your emergency fund? What's your insurance look like? What's the risk diversification? What's your cash reserves and investment timeline? Cash reserves and investment horizon, determining your short-term and long-term goals for the property. Are you looking for quick cash flow or a long-term appreciation? Are you taking the tax depreciation off in 10 years or 27 years? By carefully evaluating these factors, you can make a well-informed decision when investing into either a single-family home or a multifamily property. Now, I did put together another article real quick, which I will get it posted out there. What are the 10 most underrated rental markets for real estate investors to buy and hold in 2025? I want to give our moderators a little more juice to work with. Identifying the most underrated rental markets is crucial for real estate investors seeking high returns and growth potential. And based on recent analysis that I've put together, these are top 10 such markets to consider in 2025. Number one is Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I think Chattanooga is an emerging tech and logistics hub, attracting companies like Amazon and Volkswagen. I like also Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham is boasting one of the best price to rent ratios in the U.S., making it attractive for rental investors. The city has low home prices, stable population growth, and a burgeoning revival through investors should be mindful of higher crime and poverty taxes. Number 3 is Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock offers a low cost of living with housing costs significantly below the national average. Number 4, Wichita, Kansas. Wichita's cost of living is approximately 12% lower than the national average with affordable housing and favorable tax conditions. These factors make it an attractive market for rental property investment. Number 5, Toledo, Ohio. Why invest? Toledo offers affordable housing and living expenses with costs about 10% lower than national average. Scranton, Pennsylvania. Scranton's cost of living is approximately 9% lower than national average with affordable housing and living expenses. Number 7, Augusta, Georgia. Augusta's combination of low property taxes, affordable housing, and stable population make it an attractive market for rental investors. Montgomery, Alabama. Montgomery offers affordable housing options and favorable price to rent ratio. Number 9, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh's low property taxes, stable population, and affordable housing market provides a solid foundation for rental investments. And rounding off, number 10, St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis offers a favorable price to rent ratio, affordable housing, and stable population, making it a viable market for rental markets. These markets combine affordability, growth potential, and favorable investment conditions, making them worthy of considerations for investors seeking opportunities beyond the more saturated markets. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning and get into our moderators. The discussion again at hand. What are the most important strategies to you as a real estate investor to evaluate a single family through 4 family in your checklist? Let's go with Brian Guth. Good morning. Welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning. Real estate deal evaluation checklist.
Thanks, sir. My name is Brian Guth. My wife and I are part-time real estate investors dealing in fix and flips, fix and holds, and Airbnbs. Also dipping my toe with Joe into the direct lending space. You covered on a lot of them as far as the deal evaluation. It's really it's knowing what my long-term goal is. Right now, I'm in the phase of trying to just build my portfolio. So I'm looking more of the fixed to hold scenarios, but always having a second exit strategy. There are some that when I get the property, or I'm looking at evaluating a property, obviously determine if it's a better candidate for a flip. Some things, just quick numbers that jump out to me. If the taxes are high, that may be more of a candidate for a flip, because obviously if it's very high taxes, that eats into my spread as a rental property. And you touched on something, but just the local regulations. I'm in upstate New York in Rochester, and as some of you may know, New York State passed what's called good cause eviction at a state level, and then basically the different localities or cities can choose to adopt or not adopt. So in my market here in Rochester, the city of Rochester at least, they adopted good cause. And there's a lot of different details. It's a new law. It hasn't been proven in court yet. So there's a lot of different nuance there. So everyone's kind of treading lightly. But it basically says it makes it much more difficult to evict a tenant. So that's where I look. So I'm paying attention to, especially if I'm planning on having as a hold, I'm paying more and more attention to, factoring in higher vacancy rates. It's a situation where I need to evict and I need to go to court. It's going to take me 9 months to evict. What does that look like? How does that mess with my reserves? How does that mess with my overall, is this property worth it to me? But you touched upon the other big ones. Are there any big ticket items that need work? All of the various items. What are my numbers? What's my cash on cash? All that fun stuff. So there's a ton to go over. I think it's really understanding what your goals are, and then purposely trying to look around the corner, trying to think 2 steps ahead, so that not having analysis or a paralysis by analysis, but thinking ahead and trying to think of those things that might sneak up on you and plan on them ahead of time. It may be scary to think about those things, but I'd rather be scared and kind of strategize it out at the possibility of it happening versus being surprised at being completely flat-footed. So with that, I will pass it back.
So Brian, let's go over this new law that's in Rochester right now. I mean, is it literally eliminating the potential of growth with the landlord? I mean, is it just stymieing it? Or is it a negotiation tool for the tenant association that's in the city for landlords to do something? Like, what's the play with this law?
It's very interesting. The whole thing is that the biggest takeaway is that what we would do as housing providers up here, we would typically do month-to-month leases, and then at the end of so if you're on a month-to-month lease, you can just give notice that, hey, I'm not renewing for next month, and then the kind of lease ends and it's no big deal. Basically now there needs to be good cause, meaning it has to be non-payment of rents, has to be some type of nuisance issue. The non-payments of rents is pretty black and white, but some of the other stuff, it's very vague. Like, okay, what's a nuisance? Is it a nuisance because I was annoyed? Is it because I have a police report? So it basically, at the highest level, it stops. It eliminates the ability of me as a landlord ending the lease just because, or not renewing the lease just because I want to renew, or I'm sorry, because I don't want to renew. So I think there's enough loopholes in there. We're still trying to learn, and again, there's no case law to it yet. So that's the biggest thing. It may take 2 years to kind of go out in the courts, but it basically, again, there's a broad definition of what good cause is. But even as I own the property, I can't just decide that I want to take it off the rental market for whatever reason. Like I have a reason to not want to extend for the tenant. So New York is already a very tenant-friendly state. For the jurisdictions that enact good cause, it becomes even more tenant-friendly.
I mean, this is kind of scary because, I mean, people used to get out of the boroughs to invest into the state itself because there was a more, I don't want to say it was friendlier, but it was more fair approach to being a landlord. I guess they're kind of peeling that back for whatever reason, because I mean, in every one of my analysis, Rochester, Syracuse, Binghamton, Buffalo, Albany pop up as good markets. Buffalo came up in the top 25 markets to move and live, which, I mean, that's a whole nother discussion because I was stationed in Buffalo for work. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that when people are telling the national average, hey, go to Rochester, buy properties because it's a great place to buy? Like, you as a Rochester guy, when you hear that, what do you think?
Yeah, I know what you're getting into. Like, honestly, I'm not as worried about it I've gone to lots of different kind of courses, talked to some lawyers about it. I know I keep repeating myself, but there's no case law to it yet, so it's everyone's best guess. But it doesn't. I think there's enough loopholes in there that it doesn't quite scare me enough. Maybe it should, like maybe being ignorant to it. But there seem to be some loopholes. So it's still the fact remains: New York is not an owner-friendly or landlord-friendly state. That's what it boils down to. Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, great for numbers, great for for ROI, all that fun stuff. But that it comes at a cost. The cost is your lack of landlord rights. So it really kind of comes down to what your risk tolerance is. For the money, I put up against any of those top 10 states you mentioned as far as the accessibility to get into the market and have great returns. But it comes at the cost of, if an issue comes up, it is an uphill battle for me as a landlord.
Yeah. I mean, when I rounded off the top 10 markets that are underrated, did anything kind of like a bell go off in some of them? Because a lot of them were landlord friendly, or at least landlord fair, to say the least. Did any of those kind of like, because I know you'll look at outside of Rochester. Have you considered some out of state markets yourself?
Yeah, Tennessee. One of the guys I work with a lot up here. I have a huge amount of respect for him. He's big on Tennessee. He's probably going to move there. You got the no state taxes, which is great. Property value is on the cheap. I forget all the specific details, but he rattles off I think he's high on the suburbs of Knoxville, like that area. But he loves Tennessee, so that's kind of been on my radar. I haven't pulled the trigger on any deals there yet, but land and housing in Tennessee, that's his big. That's where he's aiming towards. And I heard you mention, I think, a couple of Tennessee markets.
Yeah, I'm big on Knoxville and some other area markets of Tennessee. I do plan on going out to Knoxville to a meetup sometime either May or June, probably more June. So I love Nashville. I like the Nashville RIA. Great room. It's kind of it's a too big of a RIA to kind of network at. So I want to identify something that's a little more controllable, meeting people. So there's a great event that's out in Knoxville that I want to get to, in Chattanooga as well. Their Elite Dealmakers just opened a group in Chattanooga, so it's on my radar to get out there as well. So thank you, Brian, for your insight this morning, and then we'll be talking today about a couple deals, of course. So, getting into underwriting and evaluating checklists is so important, and I can't emphasize enough where there's still a lack of understudy of a deal, and there's things that could be missed, especially in the repair and construction numbers. That is the most slippery slope, and great, you put out a 20% contingency based on the repair costs, but things just slip through, and all of a sudden you're burning through cash reserves, and things could go sideways. I mean, I'm underwriting a couple deals where people have to now sell and walk away because they got upside down in the deal, but there's still meat on the bone for somebody else to take over the project. I'm working on one specifically in North Carolina. It was new construction. It's probably $300,000 away from being completed. This contractor is going to pick it up for 300 and change, and the back end value is $1 million. So there's still meat on the bone for somebody to come in. I don't think it's for the inexperienced investor, but somebody that has a full crew that could come in and finish the project. I mean, it has all four walls up. It has a roof, so it's not new construction at this point. It's basically finishing a beautiful $1 million home. So you're going to see a lot more of that as we get into this shifting and resetting of the market. And there's some concerns and some advantages here. For the advantages, you're going to be able to identify, discounted opportunities to pick up. But two, you have a concern where I feel values are dropping somewhere between 8 to 12% as we speak. Your spring market is flat. It's an investor play. Investors are coming in very hot and heavy and buying B average homes, B plus average homes. And guess who they're renting back to? The people that originally were the individuals that wanted to buy it to live in it for themselves. I think you have renters coming up, kind of staying on the sidelines. Um, more renters are um, more renters are rejecting the American dream. So you got to kind of look at this that generations attaining home ownership considered the cornerstone of American dream. Survey shows right now nearly half of the American renters they want an enhanced quality of life compared to owning a home. They rather somebody else take care of them from an eat, work, and live environment. Among these renters, the top reasons cited for these improved lifestyles include affordability, location convenience, and maintenance-free living. Home ownership is no longer the end goal. The end goal, for a renter is allowing a landlord to kind of carry the sword there for them in addressing the needs of a place to live, having a roof over their head, and just going to work. The landlord is to the advantage. And not everybody wants to live in a multifamily building. People like living in a single family to four family home. They love having a little lawn. They like having a garden in the backyard. So this is an advantage for you to bullet down and understand where the opportunities lie in evaluating a good property for a long-term hold or potentially a short-term hold. Maybe you buy to get past the capital gains hit the first year and look at, does the market bear a sale and profitability for you? Stephen, good morning and welcome. I know you're excited about hearing Scranton's in the top 10 underrated markets in the country. I'm sure you heard that. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to a discussion, real estate deal evaluation checklist.
See with our homepage, I primarily invest in northeastern Pennsylvania, but I'm definitely taking a look at a few of those towns on the list for maybe a little bit of expansion. And we do have some couple meetups here. Joe's been great to come up and visit with us. And my list, actually, number one on my list, deal analysis checklist is don't get overconfident and don't get complacent. Looking at flood zones, looking at buying some sites. If you're up in Northeast PA, make sure you get buying some sites insurance. It's stupid cheap. But I've gotten complacent on a couple deals. Joe has done DSCR on one of my properties that when I went to it and looked at it, I said, oh, this could never be a flood zone. And come to find out when it digs in, it was a very bad flood zone. And you can argue, oh, it'll never actually flood here. Doesn't matter. Map says flood. Lender says flood insurance. Flood insurance is expensive. I had another deal which I did do this due diligence, but I always drain tech or camera all of my sewer lines so that I knew going into a deal, hey, this sewer line is probably going to be problematic and I better put some money aside for it. But, it's very easy to say, oh, well, I turned the water on, I flushed it, and it went down. It can't be a problem. And really, I'm getting back to, and I kind of got away from it, I'm getting back to actually bringing an inspector through. And I don't do a full inspection with what we call a landlord package. But I bring this, a more professional second set of eyes than just a contractor through a lot of my properties. Because it's very easy to say, oh, I've done 4,000 of these. And, well, guess what? You missed something on 4,001. And then it also goes a little bit deeper into, just because it's the market you grew up in or your dad knew or whatever, Scranton, my area up here in northeastern Pennsylvania is great because almost every interstate in the Northeast goes through here. So we know our logistics is not going away. Education, there's a lot of categories of life that are not going away. I just had a friend buy a property in Altoona. Number is phenomenal. But I said to him, I just realized that, in terms of why would someone choose to live in Altoona, the main answer is because I always hear because there's nothing out there. So that's the other sort of underlying question to ask yourself is, why would someone live there? Why would they do it? And the third one is, what's the trend? I'm currently looking at a self-storage deal in New Jersey, which I love. It's fully rented, yada yada. But you have to look at what's the trend. This particular property is rented above market, so its numbers are phenomenal. Well, okay, what if things trend down? What if rents continue as they have in my area, trend down? So what, just because it's doing a certain thing now, what's going to keep it doing that in the future? And in addition, obviously, your power team and your physical inspections and making sure your numbers are good. And the last thing that's on mine, and everyone thinks I'm crazy, is I take out, and this is not possible in most markets, I take out a 30% maintenance vacancy management pad, soft numbers. I want to make sure I have 30, maybe your market is smaller market, your margin is smaller. But realize that beyond taxes, insurance, sewer, and whatever, that's not the only math. And just kind of figure out for you, if you've got a huge cash flow from other things, maybe you skip it. But that's the fourth thing that's on my sort of don't miss it. And a lot of that comes back to don't be complacent. Don't feel you can skip steps.
So, Steve, you brought up a couple of points like flood insurance. I think people do not do a better study enough on a property. I mean, look, you even kind of knew about it and kind of, it's not going to come up, and it came right up, right in your face on it.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida is obviously, I mean, I'm seeing insurance with combined of regular insurance and flood at $3,500 for a single family home. I mean, how does a property debt service? How do they hold these properties? I mean, they're breaking even at best, on cash flow. So, Scranton is not a big barrier of entry of buying in, but maintaining and holding is the I'll call it the secret. Building your field of experts and team of experts, management, insurance, maintenance, a good real estate agent, a good leasing agent might not be the same thing. A good contractor, good mechanicals, good electrician, plumber. I mean, Scranton's always been one of those markets. It looks good, smells good, but the problem when you get there, it's very hard to assemble a team and to evaluate a deal with integrity. What's your thoughts on that? Because you're a transplant, so what's your thoughts on that? Because that's very relevant to any of the other top 10 markets that you want to look at. That just because the numbers are good and the barrier of entry is good, you can go upside down just like anybody else.
Oh, absolutely. And on that deal you mentioned, I mean, because of our huge pad, the $2,000 a year in flood insurance didn't kill us. But if we were running something like 5, 10, 15% pad, that $2,000 a year would have put us into the, oh my God, why did I really do this? In terms of the flood insurance. And also assembling the team is hard because, we were a transplant. When we first got here, we followed our sweet little realtor who was clueless in the investment space and bought some properties. And, we read one book, she read nothing, and there we were. And assembling the team took us a lot of trial and error. It was lots of chucking a truck. It was lots of, when I first bought it, I said, I'm a TV producer. What do I know about contracting? So the guy we hired, we trusted. And I discovered very quickly that you've got to manage your team and you got to pick your team carefully. We're renovating actually the one on Gaylord, little 2-bedroom. And the guy wants $3,500 in labor, which makes me fall off my chair. Someone who used to do get people for $10 an hour. But we went with it because this guy's really not outside the market price, and we trust him. We know he's going to get it done. So you've got to get that team. That means going to RIAs. That means talking to other investors. That means working not with any real estate agent or any realtor. That means work with someone who either is an investor or focuses on investors. That's why a lot of my time is spent helping clients figure out, okay, now what? I just bought what's underneath the purchase.
Yeah, but Steve, let's be honest. You brought up something very, sensitive to both of us. I think these RIAs, all they're there for is to sell you a package from somebody that's not even in your market. I think these smaller investor group meetings, 10 to 20 people where you're masterminding, I think you walk away with more incentive or camaraderie than you'll ever have at a RIA meeting. Listen, RIAs serve a purpose for the very new to identify some people that they could potentially work with, but they get swarmed by the people at the event to sell them a product or sell them their mentoring program or their bullshit coaching program, which is all bullshit, to be honest with you. Like the class I had yesterday, Steve, I could have charged people $1,000. Guess what? I charged people $5. Do you understand? Because the significance of money to a deal. The barrier of entry to be a real estate investor is not high. Okay, you got to have a pulse and you got to have your eyeballs in your head and move forward. So, are you seeing the investor group meetings chipping away at the RIA concept over the next couple of years. I'm seeing it already. Like, look, Elite Dealmakers has no RIA affiliation. We offer the same discounts that RIA offers, and I'm having Barry Venture a $5 registration to come to an event with good education. So, do you think RIAs are misleading to this whole misnomer right from the get go?
Well, and really, I'm probably using the wrong term because we don't have, except one guy in Stroudsburg or in Bluesburg, we don't have real RIAs up here. Everything is investor RIA groups. And when I say it, that's what I'm thinking of. And I hope they are, because there's one guy in Stroudsburg runs a group, and you go there, and all he's doing is selling his course. There is no networking. There is no nothing. And you want to go to the networking meetings. You want to go to the meetings like Joe runs. You don't want to go to the meetings like I'm building toward, where you go there, there's 20 minutes of chit chat, 20 minutes of presentation by somebody who isn't there. My first group I went to, all their meetings were the carpet guy telling you about carpet prices. That's not helping me. Carpet guy telling me why vinyl over carpet is helping me. Those are the groups you want to find. Is the ones that are little, the ones that aren't selling you anything, the ones that are saying, "Oh, I know a guy who does debt service coverage ratio lending. Let me have him speak." We had a guy at ours by Zoom, was in North Carolina, talk about land flipping. And yes, he's got an application that's got an application available to help people, but he spent 5 minutes on his app. He spent 45 minutes talking about how land flipping works. And that's what you want. You want those smaller meetup groups, those smaller community groups. And if there isn't one, start one. And bring the investors to you and kind of help people out. That's what you want to do. And you want to join those online Facebook, PA Investment Property Owners is one that Kevin and Jared run. And that's a great little, hey, everyone's here to help each other. There's no ulterior sales motive.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I appreciate your time and insight to your market, because I feel like there's a lot of overlap to people throughout the country trying to understand their market and what they need to do to evaluate.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. So, as we go on this adventure of identifying deals to be had, are there deals out there? Yes. I think there's a deal every day. I go to different events or I get different calls to underwrite a deal. And does it make sense? And there's basic questions that need to be asked. Does it make sense? Okay. I don't think people understand what questions need to be asked. Let's go over them real quick. Depending on who you go to, these are the questions you need to ask for a fix to flip or fix to rent. 1, what's the client name? What's the percentage of ownership? Somebody with the best credit should be 51% owner or better. Whether they have experience or not, it's important. If the contractor you're partnering with has a 660 credit score and you have an 800, you might have a little more money into the deal, but you're going to have a really good rate and really good leverage, decent leverage, even with no experience. And then what do your reserves look like for savings, 401k, lines of credit, stock, retirement accounts? What's the name of your LLC that's buying the property or owning the property? What's the subject address? Now, can you buy something cash and then it's a fixed rent and then refinance it in a delayed financing and get reimbursement on what you bought it for at a certain leverage plus the rehab? Yes. What's the asset type? Is it single family, 2, 3, 4 families, a 10 family? We need to know that, and you need to know that. I had a situation this week where the guy thought he had a 3-unit, and guess what? It was a 2-unit. All zoning tells me it's a 2-unit. We now have to underwrite and appraise it as a 2-unit, even though it's a really nice 3-unit. We're not going to be able to use the third rent. We're only going to be able to use the 2. What's the purchase price? What's the original purchase date or close date? What's the current balance? What are the repairs that need to be completed on the project? What's the after repair value? What's the current value? What's the estimated monthly rent, or what is the current monthly rent? What are your yearly taxes? And this is a trick here. If you're pulling permits on a property that taxes say $1,000, but you're pulling permits for a new roof, windows, kitchen, and bathroom, and adding a bathroom, do you think your taxes are going to go up? Don't you should do a little study that maybe those taxes are not going to be $1,000 a year anymore? And really, really understand your homeowner's insurance, builder's risk versus stabilized insurance. And then there's basic questions that you need to understand. How many flips have you completed in the last 4 years? It could be zero or have not number. There's no kind of. How many rehabs for rental have completed in the past 4 years? Birds. How many rentals have you bought in the last 4 years? Right? And then we do another 4 year look back because of COVID. So we take an 8 year look at, and guess what? If it's all zero, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. But the catch is you're going to probably have an average of 20% in on the purchase, and you're going to be provided 100% of the construction renovation based on 70% loan to value on the after repair value. That's it. So you got to buy smarter, buy a better deal, and underwrite your general construction costs to the penny. Mr. Ingamy, Dave Ingamy, brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion, real estate deal evaluation checklist.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, and good morning, everybody. So my name is Dave Ingamy. I am a licensed insurance producer for both title insurance and property and casualty. And I also recently joined Joe's team on in Landmark to be able to offer for properties. And what I'm seeing, and based on some of the comments in this discussion, is these meetups and online offerings like this one are so valuable. I see a lot of newbies going to property investor meetups, and they're learning something every time. Even myself, I'm learning something every time I go. So if you're not already doing it, I would go to as many of these things as I can. I think you'll always pick up valuable information. And one of the gentlemen previously mentioned if there's not one in your area, maybe start one. I think that's a great idea, and it's not very difficult to do. Joe's really great at it. So if you want to start one, he would be a good resource to tap to figure out how to do that. And as far as the RIAs, as Joe mentioned, yeah, I see some challenges with them. But again, I learned, particularly me, I learned something every time I go to one, hear a speaker. So I always think it's a value if you can make the time to do that, especially if you're just getting into your first or second investment property. So that kind of covers that topic on my feedback. And as far as the towns that Joe mentioned, I happen to have a cousin by marriage who lives in Scranton. And by the time I met him, he had already acquired 18 properties in Scranton. And what a great area. If you're anywhere near Scranton, he picked those properties up dirt cheap. And, he's doing great with them. So I'm not really surprised that was on the list. So just a tip for anybody that's in or around the Scranton area.
Dave, I've been sending you out, and we've been going over calendar almost every week now since you started. You're going to completely different events, right? You're not going to the same events that right. you were accustomed to. I'm kind of like breaking you out of your regularity. So, what is the discussion with somebody you don't know, right? And what's the general consensus? And what's missing at a lot of these events? Like, because I always ask you, who was there? Was this kind of person there? Was this kind of person there? So. Love to get your insight, because I've sent you to a half a dozen at least new events that you've never been to before. You didn't know anybody in the room, right? You went in cold.
Right.
Okay. So you have enough an evaluation to kind of give your thoughts to these smaller investor group meetings.
Yeah. So what Joe is talking about there is, me being primarily in the title and insurance sector over the last decade, I was focused on I always went to a lot of events, and I even held quite a few events myself. I ran, and they were primarily geared toward the primary homeowner sector. So I was getting my audience full of real estate agents and regular homeowners, lenders, regular loan officers who would just lend to people buying their primary homes. And the mood and the attendance in those events has definitely changed, especially post-COVID. And, that versus what I'm going to now. Joe's sending me out to a lot of other events where there's primarily property investors. I'm going a little further to get to some of them, but it's totally worth it because, it's a different education. It's a different mood. And quite honestly, when I'm in a room full of real estate agents, I'm going to be very blunt. It's a very know-it-all attitude I get from them. They don't really want to establish a relationship. It's all about them. It's all about who can, be their in-house and pad their pockets. Whereas when I go to an investor meetup, it's very positive people I'm running into that want to become property moguls. They're eager to learn. They're willing to talk. They love the fact that they can talk to a person like Joe or me or another vendor that can be a part of their team. So it's just a much more positive outlook and experience that I get going to these events now. Hopefully, Joe, that answers the question fully.
So, Dave, you've gone to 6 events that you've never been to before, right? How many title agents did you run into?
Title people?
Yeah.
None.
Okay.
I was the only one there.
How many property and casualty insurance people did you realistically run into? Maybe one?
I think maybe one.
Okay.
Maybe one.
How many direct lenders, not brokers, how many direct lenders did you run into at any of these given events?
Just one at one of the events.
He's a broker. So you ran into no direct lenders?
None, yes.
Okay.
Right.
So basically one property and casualty person where you might be able to collaborate on, no title people, and no direct private lenders.
Correct.
And you were in a room with 25 investors per event talking about deals.
Every time I've been to one, it's been like 20 plus.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and they're all trying to underwrite deals to make sure that they're penciling their deals down for lending or title or insurance purposes, correct? Whether it's long-term or short-term. Okay. That's an interesting observation. And setting up an event is, and I agree with you, is very easy and coming up with subject matter. I offer everybody, I have 94 subjects as of today on my podcast website, creativebirdstrategies.com. Use them. You don't even need a speaker. You can put a subject in the middle of the room and mastermind discuss the subject at hand for 60 minutes. And that's still a great event. Okay? Use them. Copy and paste all my subjects and use them as the next 12 events that you have once a month. Dave, if you don't have a speaker, do you just put a subject together and have a discussion with the people that attend?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dave, thank you very much. And don't worry, I have a calendar of tricks for you this week as well.
All right, thanks.
So, there's great events to go out there. There's great opportunities to be the better investor. Greater groups to surround yourself with. You want that karma-like atmosphere. It does feed off of one another as an investor or as a real estate professional. I don't concern myself with anybody else in the industry. I'm concerned about what I'm doing that time and day. Because you got some competition in the room. My only competition and your only competition in any room is the mirror. That's the only person getting in the way of identifying a good deal for yourself. It has to be for you. It's not for somebody else. If you're underwriting a deal, to pencil a deal down and you're trying to buy it, who are you buying it for? For yourself, your future, your cash flow, your appreciation, your depreciation. And you need to pencil those deals down correctly. Why do you think I'm having a rehab caravan tour next Saturday? Why? Why are 20 people already signed up? Why? Because they want to be better investors to pencil their deals down. They want to make sure they have their entrance strategy is their exit strategy. You make money when you buy. Craig, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, thoughts to our discussion, real estate deal evaluation checklist, and really looking into deals. And thank you for coming to our event yesterday, and maybe give some additional thoughts to that as well.
Thanks, Joe. It was a great event yesterday. I'm seriously looking at doing my first fix and flip, and I'm looking forward to next Saturday's caravan to learn more, to surround myself with people that have done it, and to understand, what the mechanics of the deal is. The checklist that you emailed, I started looking at it again this morning, and I'm a realtor licensed in New Jersey, so I cover the whole state of Jersey, but I have never done any fix or flips. Many years ago, bought some properties with my family, but that was a long time ago. And so now it's time. I retired from the federal government after 32 years, and I want to get into the fix and flip and fix and hold arena, and just surrounding myself with yourself and Dave and others. I just want to absorb it and be like a sponge, and then execute. That's the most important thing. It's good to have the information, but you have to be able to execute. And then, getting a team together, like you suggested, of people that can help you, contractors, electricians, and everything else to help you put this together is very powerful. And I'm looking forward to learning and joining other caravans and attending other things. Joe and I are doing 12 events this year together, and in New York, New Jersey, PA, wherever Joe goes, I go, and wherever I am, we try to join together. Thanks, Joe, for everything.
Well, thanks, Craig. I really appreciate you taking the time to come to the event yesterday, because I feel, you're sharpening your mindset as a real estate professional, and it's inspiring you to get into as an investor as well. As we speak, I did not send out to everybody the construction budget draw schedule, the breakdown. And for anybody that's listening in, if I've never sent you a copy of this, it's a very vital breakdown of what you need to look at renovation wise. It's a capital budget and construction draw schedule. It's very important. And if I haven't sent it to you yet, I want to make sure you do have it. Do ask for the construction breakdown from me, and I'll get you that template. It breaks down everything you need to look at. Everything you need to look at that you need to underwrite a deal. I'm trying to find it right now as we speak. Let me see here. Where is that? Give me a minute. There it is. And it's capital budget and draw template. So if anybody needs that, I will send that to you. Just please email me. I'll put my email in the chat and make sure you have it. But please send me your full name, email, and phone number, because otherwise I'm going to think you're spam, and it goes right to my spam box. So it gives you a whole breakdown: permits, plans, demo, exterior, interior breakdown, kitchen 1, kitchen 2, bathroom 1, bathroom 2, bathroom 3, miscellaneous. It breaks it all down. I need you to be a better and smarter real estate investor. That's important. So let me just get this out here. Hold on, let me get my thumbs are not working correctly today, this morning on Clubhouse. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just put that out there real quick. And if you're listening in, please email me at jscarice at lendmark.com, LENDMARQ. I'm sending it out to the people that attended yesterday, which I'm excited about. Thank you for reminding me that, Craig. I don't think people know how to budget down a deal to evaluate to make sure it works. I mean, and no fault to real estate agents. Nobody teaches you how to evaluate a deal for construction and repairs. They just teach you it needs a little fixing up. Put on the marketing. It's a fixer upper. But did you ever send somebody in there to kind of get a number on what the construction cost could be? Did that ever come to a potential opportunity to think about understanding the construction of it or the repair costs? Like, really, how much does a good kitchen cost? How much is flooring? How much is sheetrocking and creating a new bathroom or a half bath? Have you ever really dug into those numbers? Well, you need to know those numbers, and you need to know how to break it down into a construction budget and a template to then draw from it if you're using a lender such as myself or any lender such as myself. I don't care if you ever work with me ever, but I want you to be a smarter real estate professional when you're budgeting down deals. Mr. Bob Cheswick, good morning. You got a lot of ammunition to work with. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion. Real estate deal evaluation checklist.
Hey, good morning, Joe. I'm Bob Cheswick, president of Chespin Corporation. I help set up LLCs. I used to also be a civil engineer. I'm not here to give any legal advice. I'm wondering if the 33% tax hike that Lackawanna County passed this year was used to pay off whoever said Scranton's one of the top 10 markets in the country. I nearly spit out my drink when you said that, Joe. No. No. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, as far as since Scranton seems to be a hot topic, I'm not joking. Lackawanna County just did a 33% tax hike this year. They're also doing a full reassessment, which will take effect next year. I saw the tax bill for my mom's house. It went up over $500 just for the county one. And in Lackawanna County, you can get up to 4 tax bills a year. The municipality where my mom's house is, you get a municipal property tax, a sewer tax, the county tax, and the school district tax. And the school district tax went up as well. So just in the past 3 years, I've seen the property taxes on this house without the reassessment, which is still coming, which is going to increase them again. I've seen them go up almost $2,000 in 3 years. And for anyone who's been around Scranton, there's nothing here to justify that. There's barely an economy. I'm very, very bearish on this market. I don't think there's much here for anybody. And it is a market that will sink you very quickly, as some people said, because one of the problems I've had with this market, and I, having lived out of state for over 20 years, have run into this myself, even though I'm from this area, from the very town that, and house that I grew up in that I own now. They don't like outsiders. They simply don't want you around. So those, you'll hear the off-putting comment, oh, those guys from Jersey or those guys from New York or those Philly guys, what are they doing here? Send them away. Never mind the fact that they'll hate everybody from Jersey and New York, despite the fact that they love the Yankees and all the New York sports teams. That's besides the point.
What's wrong with that?
The bottom line is, I'm saying they love the teams. They just don't like the people who are from the area.
I'm just joking with that.
Oh, yeah. And Joe, you and I met about a month or two ago at that one event in Scranton.
Yeah.
I happened to be at my mom's house at the time, and we were walking around the city, and it was dead.
Dead.
Absolutely dead. And I was pointing out a couple of things to you, and you're looking at all the potential there, and there's just nothing. It's just the city is closed. The mall, the Steamtown Mall, opened up with a bang in 1993. I was there opening day, and now it's kind of just a shell of itself. And that was a huge project done, for anyone who's familiar with, by the Al Boscov, the Boscov's department store chain in Pennsylvania and some of the other eastern states. So the problem with Scranton is Scranton just keeps finding ways to spend money. I think from what I heard, the 30, and I can't verify this is kind of hearsay, but they did hire a consulting firm for Lackawanna County to try to figure out how to solve the debt problem, paid them a few $1 million, and their solution was raise taxes 33%. And there was a very heated meeting about that where residents were complaining they can't afford it, and the commissioners were insulting them. This isn't a joke. You can watch this online. The archives are there somewhere. So just there's this constant mentality in the Scranton area. Corruption is a function of government. It's just the way it's always been. But to the bigger problem, going back to real estate, there's a lot of hidden disasters here. The coal mines, as I believe Stephen said, you have to have mine subsidence insurance. There are abandoned coal mines, and every now and again, you have cave-ins, flooding. Hurricane Diane, 1955, Hurricane Agnes, 1972. They still talk about those. But even just in the past couple of years, my grandfather's childhood home, which is still owned by my cousins, got wiped out when Leggett's Creek went over. We had the 500-year flood. Leggett's Creek, which is in North Scranton, came up over its banks, knocked the house off the foundation, washed it down the creek. That property is in my family for almost 100 years. It's wasteland now. Mm-hmm. They can't rebuild. So when you go into these markets, you have to be careful, especially in the smaller markets. And I would say probably Binghamton wouldn't be much different than this. There's going to be people that don't want you there if you're not from the area. The properties look cheap to get in, but you might wind up spending more on taxes than you expect. You're going to run into regulatory burdens. You're going to run into bureaucrats who are just like, oh, well, I don't like you, so we're not going to do things. You have to be careful if you're going into these markets. So my advice on it, and I'm sure that there are people out there that are going to disagree with me on this, but remember, I have 44 years of history here in this area. It's in Scranton and other markets like it. It's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's who you know, and there's a lot of hidden costs. Just because it looks cheap doesn't mean it is. Okay, rant over. That was not intended as legal advice. Hope I didn't insult anyone. Joe, back to you.
We don't get insulted. And I didn't even mention that you wear a Batman custom on the weekends either. So I left that out. So did you hear that, Bob?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So most important factors being out-of-state landlord, real estate investor. Being an out-of-state landlord can offer some great opportunities and also come with challenges. And I put together kind of a slight checklist of thoughts. Like Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is a great market, but you have to understand it. It's its own little animal. It's got hair. It's got complications. It goes different directions. You make a mistake down at L&I, it could cost you for years. So you gotta have a good team wherever you're going. And I think the number one piece to all of it is property management. They're your source, okay? And having local market knowledge. The property management company, if you interview 3, you want to dive into very specific questions to local market knowledge. What are the local market conditions? What are the economic trends? And then you got to dive into the legal and tax implications. What are the landlord-tenant laws? Do they have courses on landlord-tenant laws? I just saw a very cool course held through Jumpstart, to 3-day course over 3 months, understanding permit process and this new software they have, which is called Eclipse. I'm sure every local urban city has something like that. Understanding landlord-tenant laws, understanding state and local taxes, legal support. Then you got to understand the property condition and maintenance, having a good maintenance group up and above your management company, kind of having a backup. Regular inspections, reliable contractors, emergency protocols. And then there's technology and remote access, property management software, security systems, keypad entry, digital payments, and understanding the financing and the cash flow. Do you have a debt service coverage ratio worksheet to understand the debt service of your property? Everybody's doing debt service. I don't know anybody going to the local bank and doing a full documented loan. No, I don't know anybody personally. Why would you if there's so much money in the hedge fund space? And then understanding tenant selection and retention, thorough screening and tenant communication. And then what's the long-term strategy and growth? Is it diversification? And what is your exit strategy? And what's the insurance look like on the properties? Is it adequate? Is there landlord insurance? Is there renter's insurance? Building relationships as well, local networking. We talked about that. Networking is the most important piece of this pie. Being an out-of-state landlord or in-state requires thorough planning, trusting in your local team, and use of technology to stay informed and manage your investment effectively. By considering these factors, you can reduce risk and ensure the success of your long-distance real estate ventures, or short distance for that matter. I think our discussion went to a lot of different details. There was some pros and cons to understanding and evaluating a property. I think we covered a long track. I want to thank our moderators. I want to thank our sponsors, Mr. Yarrow Perkins of Perkitect, Miss Linda Pelagas of Realty 411. I want to thank Elite Dealmakers, where we're now holding events throughout the New Jersey and PA markets. I'd like to thank MB Capital, where I provide unsecured business lines of credit. I'd like to thank TCS Property Management, where my licenses are held for real estate in New Jersey and PA. I want to also extend my CE courses. We're going to be teaching on them in Virginia and Rhode Island over the next couple months, and New Jersey and Pennsylvania and New York, hopefully. I know New Jersey and PA, New York, I'd like to get that in front of that 3-credit, 2-credit course. So we're expanding, and I'm also teaching at the Delaware Association of Realtor Convention Expo in the fall, a 3-credit CE course on asset-based lending. So if there's a state that you would think that this would be, or an area that you think would be impactful where we can offer this course, I'm more than happy to get it certified in your state. It takes about 30 days and get approved. And I can come out and we can have a luncheon or a breakfast and discuss this. We're here every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, providing education, networking, and strategy. We also have all 94 of our podcasts on our website at creativebirdstrategies.com. And my quote this morning, if they team up to go against you, just imagine how strong you are. Everybody have a blessed Sunday morning. Please take care of yourself. Have a beautiful week. Any questions or concerns, please reach out to me, and I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. Thank you.
Sorry, guys, no follow-up room today.